Сейчас начнется. Ну, посмотрим. Ну, я попробую что-то переводить. Но если кто-то вдруг, маленький дисклеймер, если кто-то вдруг надеется на то, что я буду переводить все дословно и будет все сразу понятно, вы ошибаетесь. 3, 2, 1, давай.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Welcome to the work from home edition of our Path of Exile announcement livestream. Thanks for joining us as we discuss all the details of the upcoming Path of Exile Scourge expansion, which releases on October 22nd for PC and October 27th on console. For today's livestream, Twitch drops are enabled. Check out the link below the stream for more information on how to claim your free Dragonfly wings.
Халявные крылышки.
First up, we'll showcase the trailer for Path of Exile Scourge. Then we'll take a deep dive through all the details of its challenge league and rewards. After that, we'll talk about the improvements we're making to Path of Exile's endgame and the various types of new aspirational content we're adding for you to benchmark your best characters against. Next up, we'll talk about some big improvements to the passive skill tree and we'll reveal this expansion's new skills. After discussing some balance changes and new build features, we'll head into a live Q&A stream where I chat with community streamer Ziggy D. Oh, and after the Q&A, we'll post the entire expansion's patch notes. I'm proud to present the official trailer for Path of Exile Scourge.
Спасибо, Алексей Чип. Так, ну погнали. Трейлер пошел трейлер, смотрим. Фига пляж. Фига графон.
The innocent were first to die.
Ого. Фига графон, кстати, еще. Ой, это кто такой? Ты что, Диабло? Какая-то трещина 2.0. Справа опять шкала, видите?
They approach your world.
Они идут в твой мир. Должны с ними драться. Так. Трансформировать. Прикольно, там еще одна ветка, типа. Нанесло, нифига себе, какой-то шторм. 4 региона, ага. Uber Endgame. Вау. Там много змей нет. Чё? Много цветов. Хайдауты для гильдии, кстати. Expedition в хор идет. О, Expedition сразу в хор идет. Найс. Они бесконечные.
The Scourge.
Ой, блядь. У вас слава плети. Симпатично.
The Path of Exile Scourge expansion contains a lot of new content and features that we'll reveal to you today. Let's start with its namesake, the Scourge Challenge League.
Так. Ого.
Upon leaving Lion Eye's watch, you're startled by a figure appearing out of nowhere, trying to escape from something you can't see. She hands you a rusty-looking device called the Blood Crucible and urges you to implant it into your body.
Дает штуку, Blood Crucible.
As you play through each area in the Scourge Challenge, the Blood Crucible fills with a blood spell.
Он наполняется мобами.
Once it reaches a certain threshold,
Когда
you're able to
наполняется
activate the
полностью, можно
device.
активировать его. Ага.
This will instantly thrust you into a parallel reality, an alternate raycast where some form of apocalyptic event is occurring. This raycast is overrun by demons known as the Scourge. They're powerful, dangerous, and come in many forms. The more blood you have collected, the longer you can stay shifted into the parallel raycast. But the longer you stay, the more damage you'll take. When the Crucible's blood runs out or you choose to shift back, you are instantly returned to your original location in our rayclass to continue your journey. So why enter an alternate reality to fight a horde of ravenous demons?
Зачем нам туда идти вообще?
The answer to that question is exactly what you expect from Path of Exile. You're not there to save the world, you're there to find cool items.
Для того, чтобы найти клевые
You
айтемы.
can put an item inside
Можно
the Blood
положить
Crucible.
внутрь.
While you are killing the Scourge, it absorbs corruption from the
И
alternate
пока ты
ray class and
убиваешь
focuses
монстров,
onto the
он
item.
поглощает
After enough kills, your item
какие-то
is ready to
заряды.
transform. When it does, it becomes corrupted
После
and
этого,
gains a
чем
pair of
больше
Scourge
набивали,
modifiers.
тем больше
One of these is a
модификаторов
beneficial mod and one
Скурджа
is a
можно вешать.
detrimental mod. These Scourged mods are in addition to the regular explicit and implicit mods or enchantments on the item.
Эксплиситы,
There are
имплиситы или
many powerful
энчанты
beneficial mods
изменяются при этом и
available that can
караптят
really
шмотку.
improve your item. The detrimental mods can significantly raise the requirements of the item, penalize your character's stats such as resistances, or outright turn off various mechanics like the ability to deal fire damage or gain charges. The goal of the transformation process is to get a beneficial mod that makes your item a lot more powerful, while also rolling a detrimental mod that doesn't hurt your build much or at all. But if you get a combination you're unhappy with, then your item is not ruined. By putting it back in the Blood Crucible and killing even more monsters in the alternate ray class, you can transform it a second time, potentially getting a better pair of mods that overwrite the first.
Шмотку второй раз типа можно туда положить.
Equipment can be transformed up to 3 times, and each time it guarantees a minimum tier of beneficial and detrimental mods equal to the number of times it has been transformed. By the third tier, you can start to get some very powerful effects. The Blood Crucible works on already corrupted items, so it's possible to add Scourge mods to items that you thought couldn't be improved any further.
Прикольно. Вау.
Talking about corrupted items, you're going to need a way to modify their sockets. While in the alternate ray class, you can find tainted chromatic orbs, tainted jeweler's orbs, and tainted orbs of fusing, which work exactly the same as their regular counterparts, but can only be used on corrupted items.
Короче, да, способы взаимодействия. Короче, по сути, можем крафтить крапченное айтемы. Это жестко.
While it's obvious that Scourged items can be among Path of Exile's most powerful endgame equipment, it's worth considering the huge impact that good Scourge modifiers can have on your run through the campaign. In our testing, we often manage to Scourge items that are far more powerful than leveling uniques.
Слушайте, они движок прям дико крутят. Посмотрите на этот графон.
You can allocate its skill points in its own passive skill screen, which allows it to specialize in many aspects such as unlocking additional item slots, faster item transformation, better transformation outcomes, the ability to transform unique items, and so on. It's possible to eventually allocate every single one of the Blood Crucible skills, but it requires a lot of demon slaying.
Но для этого нужно очень много демонов побивать. Okay.
Scourge's endgame is one where you control the level of risk and reward, or as we like to say in the business, it has a lot of player agency.
Okay.
Once you're exploring the Atlas of Worlds, you may gain the ability to place maps in the Blood Crucible alongside your equipment.
When
a map absorbs enough corruption and transforms, it gains a beneficial and detrimental effect in the same way that a piece of equipment does, but can also gain a modifier that changes the behavior of Scourge League in that map entirely. After all, when you combine 2 types of alternate realities together, the results are bound to be unpredictable.
Короче, дополнительные моды на карте, по сути. Мапки можно до 10 раз трансформировать.
When a map is transformed a second or subsequent time, there's a chance that the new beneficial or detrimental modifiers stack alongside the existing ones, enhancing their power, or a chance that new modifiers are added. Be careful not to transform your maps too many times, of course, as they may become too dangerous to complete.
Вау. Блин, круто.
Path of Exile Scourge introduces 6 new unique items, of which 3 have been added to the core drop pool and 3 can be found in specific aspirational content that we'll reveal later in the live stream. Ulnatal's Vow is an amulet that effectively enables you to turn any 6-linked body armor into a 7-link. Support gems you socket into this amulet apply to skills in your body armor. While specific mods on items have allowed players to create 7-link skills in the past, this amulet lets you choose whatever support gem you want, including corrupted or awakened ones. It's only possible to find this unique item in specific content that we'll reveal later in the livestream.
При этом, судя по всему, от минус 30 до 30 все резисты ролятся.
The new Mage Blood Belt is one of the most powerful unique items to ever exist in Path of Exile. It permanently enables a number of your utility flasks, providing their benefits constantly with no work required on your part. This belt means that regardless of what your build is, you'll sustain your utility flasks during 100% of gameplay, even long boss fights.
Ну, короче, поиск, который позволяет сустейнить все утилитные фласки перманентно.
Early next year, we will release a huge overhaul of Path of Exile's Atlas of Worlds endgame in the 3.17 expansion. In the meantime, though, our October Scourge expansion introduces a bunch of changes that speed up how quickly you can set up and progress through your Atlas. We're also introducing more types of ultra-challenging endgame content for top players who want to put their best characters to the test.
Пока очень плотно.
In order to substantially shorten the length of the Atlas grind, we have reduced the number of regions from 8 to 4. This implicitly reduces the number of watchstones required from 32 to 16. We have also reduced the number of maps on the Atlas, so it's now approximately 100 plus the unique maps. We've rebalanced the bonuses for completing content so that by the time your Atlas is fully unlocked, you receive a slightly higher level of benefit than you did before.
Ну, короче, бафнули бонус,
Because
по
the number
сути.
of regions has been halved, so have the number of Atlas passive trees.
Окей, они
There
просто
are now
объединили,
4
по
plus the
сути.
uncharted realms. We've made each tree slightly larger and removed some less frequently used or duplicated skills. You'll still be awarded the same number of Atlas passive skill points as before.
При этом количество
With these
пассивок можно
changes, each
столько
map
же
you play
поменять.
constitutes far more progress than it previously did. About half as much work is now required to reach Path of Exile's ultimate endgame.
Ну, по сути, в 2 раза сократили количество
We've
гринда
made some
мапок.
other changes to streamline the endgame also. For example, now when you unveil a modifier, all tiers of that modifier are immediately unlocked at the crafting
Класс.
bench.
Один
This
анвел,
applies to
сразу
every
все
veiled
тиры.
modifier, including the very rare
О,
ones.
спасибо. Спасибо. Один раз занвелил все тиры
Many of
свободные.
Path of Exile's past leagues have an endgame component that is designed to challenge the best players with the best builds. Over time, more and more of Path of Exile's experienced players have managed to defeat the game's hardest content. Our most difficult endgame content doesn't pose as much of a challenge as it once did. In the Scourge expansion, we have added a set of new aspirational content, Uber versions of Breach, Blight,
Убер-версия
Legion, an
Breach,
extension
Blight,
to
Legion,
Delirium's Simulacrum, and a revamp of
Delirium,
Delve.
Simulacr и Delve.
Breach's endgame involves running breach stones, which can be placed in the map device to open portals to a breach lord's domain. For each breach lord, there are currently 4 tiers of breach stones, and you
Ну
can
да,
upgrade
сейчас у нас
between them
пока
using
4 тира
blessings.
бриджстоунов.
Path of Exile Scourge introduces a new tier,
3.16 добавляет
Flawless
новый
breach
тир.
stones. These can't be
Flawless.
obtained via blessings, but are instead found in the Maven encounters where you fight the breach lords in their most challenging forms.
Но
These
их
flawless
можно
breach stones
заапгрейдить
require a
только
substantially
с
more powerful character to complete, but have rewards appropriate for their
блессингов, которые падают с бричлордов с
Existing
Maven.
breach stones now have
Вау.
2 random modifiers
Круто.
from a pool that doesn't include
Это
build
добавляет
disabling
смысл
ones,
гриндить
such as
их.
not being able to leech. And the new flawless breach stones have 4 of these modifiers, which represents a significant jump in difficulty. They can drop special versions of the grasping
О,
male
они
body armor,
могут
which has a specific
grasping
fraction modifier themed around the breach lord of that domain.
Это
The
круто!
Vow unique amulet we revealed earlier can only be obtained through flawless breach
Ну вот
stones.
этот Симилинк амулет
All
оттуда.
breach stones have been modified so that the items you earn
Grasping
from monsters are
fractured
now dropped in a
модом.
spiral at your feet when you complete or fail the event.
О,
In
это
addition, rare
круто!
monsters and breach domains drop an additional random reward types such as scarabs, maps, or
О,
divination
нифига
cards,
себе тут
with
дропается
flawless
вообще.
breach stones adding 2 additional reward types. All breach stones are far more rewarding than before.
Нормально это дропается. Весь лут в конце при
Blighted
этом
maps were
дропается, кстати, по
previously our
кайфу.
pinnacle blight content and could be anointed up to 3 times to increase their difficulty and rewards. In the Scourge expansion, while you're playing blighted maps, you may find a blight ravaged map.
Так,
These have increased monster difficulty and are always monster level 85. They can be anointed up to
85
9
мобы
times
до
with up to
9
3 of any one
анонитов.
type
Мы
of
там
anoint.
показывали.
These incredibly challenging encounters can also yield one of Scourge's powerful new unique items. In Legion, you can combine up to 5 timeless emblems to enter the domain of timeless conflict. While playing the domain in this expansion, you can find unrelenting emblems, which can be mixed and matched with timeless emblems for a substantially more challenging and rewarding encounter. Delirium's Simulacrum encounter has been extended, with 10 additional waves of
10
combat.
дополнительных
As you can
волн
expect,
симулятора.
these extremely difficult extra waves are very rewarding and feature escalating chances for a Delirium boss to spawn. With each wave you play, the Simulacrum now has increasing chances of dropping cluster jewels and past wave 20 Delirium unique items. Previously, you could only get a maximum
После
of 1
20-й
Delirium
волны
unique item
можно
per
больше, чем
Simulacrum,
один
and now
начинать
you can walk
дропать
out with multiple high-value items such as voices.
уников Делириума.
Simulacrums not only represent a lot more value now, but also an opportunity to truly test your character against some of Path of Exile's hardest content. In addition, Delirium orbs are now a lot more common, and Delirium's rewards have been improved due to
Делириум
less
орбы стали
popular ones
более,
like Prophecy and Talisman being removed
более
entirely.
частыми.
We've made quite a few changes to Delve in the Scourge expansion. The first change is that we have completely rebalanced the entire thing so it's just more rewarding and more challenging at earlier depths. In general, monsters scale to have more life but less damage than before. We've improved monster skills and bio modifiers to make deeper depths more challenging to go with their better
И
rewards.
дополнительные моды.
Due to these changes, we've wiped the standard delve ladders, but have retained your previous depth on your characters. To get back on the ladder, just play at whatever depth you were still able to complete. We've also improved the delve catch-up mechanic. Previously, if you entered delve for the first time at level 90, you'd be taken to a depth that is the equivalent of tier 1 maps. Now we'll be taken to the equivalent of tier 13 maps. This means that if you want, you can essentially ignore delve until the late game rather than having to play as you go. We've increased the base sulfite cap from 600 to 1200. Underground cities are now more common and you'll encounter bosses more often, including ore.
Боссы чаще будут встречаться.
You can rarely find fractured items with delve modifiers on them. We've also increased fossil and resonator availability throughout the Azurite mine. Fossil availability outside of delve has been reduced. All resonators dropped are now chaotic resonators, with alchemical resonators not dropping anymore. We've also improved the least powerful fossils.
А чё, я прослушал, теперь получается только желтенькие падают, да?
It's been a long time since we've done a big rework of Path of Exile's iconic passive skill tree.
Круто.
The Scourge expansion includes quite a lot of changes, and before I list them, I want to emphasize that our goal here has been to keep the tree as similar to before as possible. All of your years of muscle memory will not be wasted. The tree will still feel like the back of your hand, despite our changes.
Там, походу, не сильно поменяли.
While planning this rework, we examined every aspect of the passive skill tree. We reviewed and improved each of the tree's class start areas, we added new clusters of skills, improved existing ones, and concentrated power more directly on each skill's primary function.
Короче, по сути, они решили ужать количество поинтов и сделать их более мощными, более сконцентрированными.
When we took niche stats away from a skill, we buffed the primary function of the skill so that it was more concentrated on one purpose. While I'm sure that powerful passive skills sound great to you, you're probably wondering what happened to all of those niche stats. You see, while we were doing this revamp, we realized that specific build-enabling niche stats appearing in specific locations on the tree actually constrained players' passive builds in quite severe ways. Players who wanted to get several specific niche stats often had little flexibility with the rest of their tree because they had to plan around getting to the specific clusters that had those niche stats in them. We decided we wanted to solve both problems at once here, to move niche stats off the main tree, but also to provide a way to get them, preferably from many different locations all over the passive skill tree. And that's how we came up with a passive mastery system.
Passive mastery system?
Outside of the class start locations, all passive skill clusters that have a notable passive in them now contain a passive mastery.
Окей, везде, где у нас есть notable, у нас есть passive mastery. Ага, когда мы берем notable, то у нас mastery остается. Тратим сюда point и выбираем какой-то из статов. Вау!
As you allocate a mastery stat is crossed off the list for that theme.
Это круто!
This mastery system has essentially let us add hundreds of powerful new notable passives that you can access from all over the tree. In addition to the stats that we moved into masteries when consolidating power on the rest of the tree, we got to come up with a bunch of new interesting niche stuff to enable even more builds. We've also rebalanced a few keystone passives, changed the locations of some, and added 6 new keystones to the tree.
Новые кейстоуны. 6 штук. Офигеть. Я думал, как они впихнут 6 кейстоунов.
Passive skill tree is now a lot more powerful, with concentrated power coming from core passives, and a selection of build-enabling niche stats available on masteries for you to pick between.
Звуки какие сочные.
Path of Exile Scourge introduces a whole variety of new skill gems with many different purposes. 2 of them are new concepts unlike anything we have done before. These ones are designed to immediately create entirely new builds that have a lot of potential. There's also a utility skill that will help characters stay alive, a variation on an existing skill gem, and 6 new gems designed for party play. Let's go through the new skills. Energy Blade is a new skill that transforms your melee weapons into, well, energy blades. A large portion of your energy shield is converted into the lightning damage that these blades deal. This opens up an entirely new melee energy shield archetype, where you want to stack as much energy shield as possible to get the most powerful blades you can. Conveniently, the defenses rework in this expansion is very compatible with this plan. Temporal Rift is a new utility skill that allows you to rewind your character's state by 4 seconds. After activating the skill, it starts storing your position, life, mana, and energy shield values every quarter second. When you use the skill again, you will reround back to 4 seconds ago. The build shown here uses the Forbidden Rite skill introduced in the last expansion. This skill does a lot of damage, but also hurts the caster when used. Temporal Rift allows this player to snapshot their full life orb, cast Forbidden Rite a lot, and then revert back to full life to keep casting. Not only is Temporal Rift incredibly useful in hardcore mode for obvious reasons, or while exploring maps efficiently, but it also enables some interesting tricks with mana.
Да, откат на 4 секунды типа.
As well if you don't mess up the timing.
Класс.
Temporal Rift also prevents temporal chains from affecting you while it is in use.
А еще это anti-temporal chains,
Tornado is another new skill. As the name suggests, it creates a tornado that relentlessly moves towards enemies and pulses with damage.
Tornado.
While the tornado is forming, you have a couple of seconds where it will absorb damage from projectiles you hit it with. Fire as many projectiles as you can
ты заряжаешь этот торнадо прожектайлами, и оно летит и дамажит. Чё?
In the Expedition expansion, we introduced a skill called Explosive Concoction. Based on player feedback, we're improving the skill so that its projectiles are thrown faster, have a higher base crit chance, and have greater speed. Now that we feel that Explosive Concoction is sufficiently powerful, we're introducing a similar new skill called Poisonous Concoction. As the name implies, this one deals poison damage rather than fire damage, and consumes charges from your life flasks rather than your elemental flasks. Poisonous Concoction scales its damage based on how much life the consumed flasks recover, which encourages you to craft your flasks to take advantage of this.
Прикольно.
It's quite rare for us to introduce skills that only work for party play, but in the Scourge expansion, we've created a set of 6 that function in similar ways but do different things. These link skills create a bond between you and a specific party member, providing a big benefit to them while they stay within range, but with the very important drawback that if they die, so do you.
Ого, если один умирает, то и второй умирает.
Soul Link protects your target by causing a percentage of damage they are dealt to be applied to your energy shield instead. If you have built a tanky character with a lot of energy shield, then you and your target will be protected by it.
Whoa.
Protective Link grants your target a chance to block attacks that is equal to yours, and also grants them life gain on block to them. By default, the obvious use of this Link skill is to allow you to specialize in block, and then use it to protect an ally that is specialized in something else, like damage. But there are some cool tricks you might discover. For example, the Glancing Blows keystone passive doubles your block chance, but changes that so that you still take some damage from blocked attacks. In conjunction with Protective Link, though, your target will receive your doubled block chance, but won't receive the drawback. Intuitive Link is socketed alongside a spell on your character, and that spell is triggered from your target's location when they hit an enemy. This could be useful, for example, if you have a party member who's cycloning through enemies, and you can trigger your spells from within those packs of enemies without having to get close yourself.
Триггерить скиллы об своего друга.
Skills that we will reveal closer to release. As this expansion does include significant nerfs to aura bot characters who stack auras for the benefit of their party members, these link skills give them a viable, more active playstyle. Link skills cannot normally be used with your minions, but we're adding a minion mastery to the passive skill tree that allows you to use link skills with them. However, this has a high ongoing mana cost that is difficult to stay on top of. Path of Exile Scourge, we've done a lot of balance work, improving flasks, ailment mitigation, general character defenses, and elemental damage over time.
Hello.
We've made some changes to how stacking auras and curses works, and have buffed most awakened support gems. We've posted about the changes we intend in the last couple of weeks, and have been iterating on these changes based on testing and your feedback. We are posting the full Scourge patch notes after the Q&A portion of this livestream, so we'd encourage you to check out the full details of the balance changes there. We first introduced guilds alongside Path of Exile's initial release in October 2013. Our guild leaders and members have been patient for a very long time, and after 8 years, we're rewarding that patience with a wave of guild quality of life features. As a game about items, the functional heart of a Path of Exile guild is its stash. You can finally control-click items into and out of your guild stash and access other features such as the drop-down list of stashes, drag-and-drop stash ordering, affinities, etc. We have also introduced guild versions of all of the types of premium stash tabs, so guilds can finally enjoy popular tabs such as currency or map tabs. While shared guild tabs are a little more expensive than individual tabs because of their server costs and development overhead, we have bundled all of the exotic ones together in a single discounted bundle for guilds that want to invest in the whole lot at once. We have also added the ability to export a CSV file of your guild stash activity log for convenient auditing. We wanted to pair functional with fun, so we have introduced guild hideouts. Guild leaders can select any in-game or microtransaction hideout that they have unlocked and create a guild hideout based on that template. These hideouts are a great place to hold guild meetings or to just have as a space for members to meet up between maps. If you're hanging out in your guild's hideout, you can use its map device as though it was your own.
Но можно
We
выгружать
understand that not everyone is in the
содержимое
guild, so there's one hideout-related
стэша
feature that we
в
wanted
виде
to mention.
таблиц.
We have entirely removed the favor system from Path of Exile. From this expansion onwards, all hideout
Ой, какие
decorations that could
симпатичные.
previously be obtained with favor are now available to all players in unlimited quantities, both personal and guild hideouts. Now, there's nothing stopping you from making the hideout of your dreams. We've also added a system that allows you to filter decorations by tag because there are just so many available to you by default now. Alongside Path of Exile's Scourge, we're introducing the expedition content from our last expansion into Path of Exile's core game, with a few adjustments. Expedition artifacts are no longer tradable items, which has two key effects. The first is that they are automatically collected as you complete expeditions. And the second is that all characters can now engage with the Calgaro merchants, without having to feel that their best plan is to trade the currency away to other players who may use it more efficiently than them. It's a difficult decision working out whether to make specific items tradable or not, but we feel that on balance, this new approach will solve several problems with the system. It's also worth noting that the currency items that allow you to re-roll the vendor's inventories are still tradable. You'll start finding expeditions from Act 6 onwards. There's an 8% chance for a map to contain an expedition, and they can be further augmented through investment in the appropriate Atlas passive skill tree.
Добавили пассивки в лиру. Okay.
As we move new leagues to core, we will replace outdated obsolete content. In this case, Expedition replaces Pirandus. Details are in the patch notes.
Прощай, Пирандус. Ты был хорошим другом.
While clicking on items is a critical part of playing an action RPG, there's a fine line before it becomes a chore, and we're trying hard to make sure that clicks on items come with appropriate reward. Expedition artifacts being automatically picked up isn't the only improvement we're making to reduce unnecessary clicks in this expansion. In order to make sure that each stack of currency items is worth a click, we're trying out a system where currency items drop less frequently, but in larger stack sizes. For example, Scrolls of Wisdom in the late game might drop 1/10 of the time, but when they do, it'll be in stacks of 6 to 14. This means that the click that you will make will gain you a much more meaningful amount of currency at once. We have applied this to many different types of currency items, and the effect of the system gets larger as you get further into the game. In addition, we've had a look at instances where item drops happen simultaneously, and we've made it so that items that can drop in stacks will automatically do so. This includes at the end of delves, incursions, rituals, light encounters, breach zones, and the simulacrum. We have also applied this approach to many chests and areas like splinter drops throughout Path of Exile. Before we move on to our final announcement and live Q&A, let's have a quick look at the new set of supporter packs that are available right now to celebrate the launch of Path of Exile Scourge and help fund ongoing development of Path of Exile. Based on player feedback, we've increased the value of the $30 and $60 supporter packs by adding $5 worth of points to each one. This means that you now receive the full value of what you spend in points, with the new sets of exclusive cosmetic microtransactions on top. These include armor sets, weapon skins, portals, shields, and helmet attachments. The Ancient Dread pack contains an exclusive pair of wings, and the Intrepid Liege pack contains an exclusive pack. These new packs each have 3 value tiers that you can upgrade between within their respective series. Thank you so much for your support. Purchases of these supporter packs make expansions like Scourge possible. Shortly we'll begin our Q&A and we'll answer your burning questions. But first, we have another quick announcement to make. In the Expedition League, we teamed up with Twitch Rivals to run our first ever Path of Exile Royale live tournament. This event saw our favorite content creators teaming up in pairs to compete for awesome prizes. We're excited to announce that following the launch of Path of Exile Scourge, we're doing it again. This time around, competitors will compete alone, but we've added a unique twist. Towards the end of the match, surviving players may encounter a brutal but rewarding boss fight, which could have significant strategic implications for how they play the match. There's $30,000 of cash on the line alongside some of Path of Exile's best microtransactions. Tune in on October 28th at twitch.tv/twitchrivals to see who will decimate their competition. That concludes the reveal portion of this livestream. Keep an eye on our news next week as we reveal more details about the Scourge expansion. In the meantime, these reveals are already live on YouTube for you to link to your friends in case they missed the livestream. Please do so and join us as we battle the Scourge alongside you next week. It's now time for the Q&A. If you have any questions about what we've shown you today, please get them ready because I'm about to be joined by Ziggy D as we answer your questions from Twitch chat, and after that, we'll